Oh, I hope everyone's having a good week. This is our last class, if you will, for the Get Your Ducks in a Row challenge. But as always, I'm available if you need anything. Um, but this week we're kind of wrapping up with estate planning and things you should consider, and then also city benefits and resources around that. So, talking about power of attorneys, wills, trusts, things like that. I try to simplify it as much as possible. So just understanding the basics of estate planning. So your power of attorney, think of it, it's only useful when you're alive. So once you pass away, the power of attorney dies with you. Um, and so any power that you put over someone that over your finances or whatnot, that's no longer in effect. At that point, your will would kick in, and whoever you've designated to manage your estate, that person would take over. And it could very well be the same person who is your power of attorney. And then trust, those can work whether you're alive or have passed away. It depends on how you set that up and what your needs and wants are. We do have estate attorneys through our MetLife legal plan that can assist you with questions because, again, I'm not an estate attorney. And so they'd be able to work with you directly on that, just depending on your specific situation. So for power of attorneys, this has become more complicated uh, over the, I don't want to say complicated, there's just more layers to it. Just with all the digital things that are out there, your username, passwords, all of that. So your power of attorney, this is someone that you legally grant the ability to speak on your behalf if you are unable to. And this can be sometimes one person or a team of people. If I'm speaking personally, I think it's good to have a few different people. Maybe you have someone working on your digital, you have a digital power of attorney. So that's someone who's calling and discontinuing accounts, social media, all of that. If you have concerns about a person's ability to handle any of those responsibilities, you can limit what they can and cannot do. So again, you can designate multiple people to take on different tasks. And then thinking too, there could be, if you're thinking about paying the bills and anything that's coming out of your bank account, your investments, your properties, all of that, that's a lot for one person to manage, especially considering if they have a family and a career of their own. So just something to take into consideration. So just a little bit around some of the basic types of POAs. I just included the three main types. So of course you have your durable power of attorney, which this allows you to decide who will act as your agent should you no longer be able to speak or act for yourself, and that can change at any time. So I could have someone designated and then next week decide I want somebody else, and it can make that change pretty quickly. Your non-durable power of attorney is usually established to achieve a specific task. So it could be if you were out of the country and you were buying a house and you are not going to be here to sign at the closing, then you may have a non-durable power of attorney who would sign on your behalf. Um, but once that takes place, or once that specific goal takes place, which is signing for your house, then that non-durable power of attorney goes away, if that makes sense. And then you also have a springing power of attorney, which is very similar to a durable power of attorney. However, it's usually it's only active when certain conditions are met. So it could be one that comes to mind as a military power of attorney. So um, someone that's in the military could create a springing power of attorney um, and to make financial or medical decisions if they are to become deployed overseas. So that's somewhat of an example of a springing power of attorney. And again, as you're working with an estate attorney around your estate planning, that's something that you can talk to them about as well. So, again, it's just like life insurance and things like that. It's important. We all need a power of attorney. Um, Unfortunately, bad things happen to all of us. And even when those things happen, there's still, bills that need to be paid and legal matters to be addressed. So I've kind of sectioned out different types of power of attorney. So you can have your durable power of attorney who's really there to manage everything. You can have a financial power of attorney who's there just to manage your finances. I did mention just a few minutes ago around the digital power of attorney. So managing all your digital accounts and assets. And then you can also have a healthcare medical power of attorney. And this gives someone the ability to make important decisions about regarding your medical care, whether or not you're going to get, your different treatment options, certain medications, end of life care, things like that. So a living will, think of it just like that. It's a living will. There's also several different names for it that I've outlined in the first bullet. So again, this determines what your wishes. You outline what your wishes are, and they can speak on your behalf. It is very important, and I talk a little bit about this at the end, that as you're working through this whole process and getting all your affairs in order, you've done a lot of work to get to this point. And so whoever you had listed as, a beneficiary, power of attorney, whoever's managing your estates, or thinking about end of life care. I think I used this example a while back, but when before my dad passed, it was just a couple months before he passed that I found out that he wanted to be cremated, and that's something we just never talked about. So it's important as you do all the work that you're talking to those important people who are going to be managing some of your affairs and things like that, because it's only as good if they don't know what their responsibilities are or kind of what your expectations are, and you've done all this work. It's it's um it's kind of a moot point at that point, because you haven't communicated that to anyone, so they don't even know what your wishes are because you've never communicated that. So then you also have, excuse me, a will, which is also called your last will and testament. So this is how you want your assets to be distributed after you pass. So you can change this at any time. Just the three main areas is around guardianship, your assets, and then your property. So any homes or buildings and such that you own. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just put some common terms in here that I thought may be helpful. Um, Someone who doesn't have a will, it's called passing intestate, which means they don't have a will. And so then it's going to go, you're looking at the legal system and you're going through probate, where a court's going to determine how your assets are distributed. It's a very, very long process, very, very expensive process. And, you want to be sure that all your assets, retirement, all that you've designated who you want that to go to. So you're not relying on the legal system to make that determination for you, because they have no idea who you are or your family or your wishes. So again, you want to connect with your state attorney or access one of our city resources, which we'll talk about here shortly, regarding that whole process. Trust. So this can go alongside a will. This can help move your assets more quickly, and a way to sometimes even just avoid probate or get through probate a little bit faster. This is completely personal and depends on your specific situation. So again, you're going to hear me say this a million times. Speak with your attorney or legal representative regarding your specific situation, because what's best for maybe one of your friends that are doing this is maybe your needs may be different, and that may look a little bit different, whether you need a trust or not. Here's just some of the lingo around trust. I thought this chart was very helpful. The revocable trust you can change yourself, or the irrevocable trust you would need a third party to change that. So that can include certain sections, certain parts of estate planning, of course, your asset protection, ways to avoid probate fees, um, your tax deductions, all of that. So again, talk with your estate attorney regarding that. Here are some city resources. So just a little plug, if you haven't done your annual enrollment elections, it does end on Friday. So be sure you go in there and do that. Even if you've gone in and made your elections and you want to add or make changes, you have until midnight on Friday to do that. But we do have the MetLife Group Legal Plan. It's completely voluntary, but you do have to enroll in it during annual enrollment. It's not something you can elect mid-year. I can speak from personal experience. This has been hugely helpful for me. I've got 2 kids, and things that I wanted to do with my will, and do some estate planning would probably easily have cost me a couple $1,000s. And I was able to get my will and all that stuff updated and changed and such, at no cost. So it was very, very helpful. So if you don't have a will, or if you're looking to do a trust, or you don't have any noted any power of attorneys or anything like that, uh, this may be something you want to consider, um, to enroll in. And you can, maybe you need it for a year, and then once you get all this stuff taken care of, then you don't need it the following year. So you can opt out of that. And let me see, I think I just got a chat. All right, let me read through these real quick. Does the law default to the spouse for power of attorney if nothing is written down? If not, then would you know how it's decided generally? So not always. It's like the people who assume if you pass away, you know, for your checking account, all that money is going to go to your spouse. That's not necessarily true. Um, I would say more times than not, if you do have a spouse, it would default to the spouse in many in most cases. But again, just to avoid any question, I would always assign a power of attorney. And sometimes you may not want it to be your spouse for whatever reason. And so that's something you also want to consider. And then, is there a maximum number of covered services that you can request through MetLife each year? No. So there's different things that you can use the MetLife Group Legal Plan. So, for example, last year we added 20 hours of divorce services. So, whether that's consulting with an attorney, maybe writing up a separation agreement, those types of things. If you use those 20 hours, say you're going through a divorce and you were using those hours, you could still use the MetLife Group Legal Plan if you got a speeding ticket, and you need an attorney to go to court or help maybe get you out of the ticket. Then you may be using it for doing a will or power of attorney. So there's not really a maximum number of covered services. When you, and I'll send this document to you, I'll make myself a note. It gives you a list of all the things that you can utilize it for, and certain things, just like the divorce stuff, there's a limit to the number of hours that you can use. So does that make sense, Ruth? Okay, perfect. Um, you also, there's the My Group EAP. Okay. Is there a limited number of hours for the covered categories? Yes, just like the divorce is 20 hours. um, I'll have to go back and look at other specifics, but for certain categories or services, there is a limit to the number of hours, but you can use other services outside of that category, if that makes sense at the same time. So additional city resources, we do have My Group EAP. So if you have just a basic will or just, maybe you don't have a ton of assets or yours is just very simple. You have one person you're designating everything to, or maybe they're who your estate's going to, they're your power of attorney. You can actually, they have it's called Will Maker, which, yeah, I have it on here, free Will Maker and Trust software. I think that's over $100 if you went to Best Buy or wherever to purchase that, but that's completely free through My Group EAP. You can also consult with attorneys on there. So you get a free confidential 30-minute telephonic legal consultation. So if you have any one-off questions or anything fairly simple to fairly simple questions, I guess, then you can consult with an attorney. And then if you decide to continue services with them, you get a 25% discount on their fees. So it just depends on what you need for the MetLife legal benefit. I think it's $4.17 a week. Um, And so if there's a lot of stuff that you need to get done, it may be worth having that for a year. But just know that you have the group legal plan, the My Group EAP as an additional resource. And this is available to all employees and household members. Um, and then on the next slide, I believe I have in here how to access the work life services, but they have a ton of legal forms, articles around specific legal topics, a lot of stuff around estate planning and questions that you may have. They have and like a personal financial organizer, if you will, to kind of organize your bills and such. So if you haven't checked that out, it would definitely be worth looking into. And here's how to access those services and the work life, the Financial and Legal Resource Center, which is in the work life services for EAP. And then also, if you're enrolled with Voya, if you're in the Voya 457 plan, they have a program for people with special needs because there may be special financial planning that you need to consider or think about. So if you have a loved one with special needs, who may need assistance or whatnot after your passing, and you have the 457 plan, it would be worth contacting them just to talk through what are some things you may need to consider, if you have someone with special needs. So here is the plan of attack, for this week. So anything you haven't finished up to this point from the previous plan of attacks, try to knock that out first. You're going to complete the pages 6 through 12 in your life planning organizer. Now that's going to get into more of your funeral planning. If you want to be cremated or songs you want played, things like that. So I know that's a little bit morbid to think about, but thinking about, I know when we were planning my dad's funeral, it was really helpful to know the songs he wanted to play and the verses he wanted spoken at his service and things like that, because you're already you're devastated, and that's just one less thing you have to think about. And knowing that I was planning a service that I knew that he wanted just made it a little bit easier. And then, if you haven't already, thinking about how to have these important conversations with your loved ones regarding your wishes. 'Cause sometimes that can be a little challenging or, and I think it's changed throughout the generations with my parents. It's just something we never had to talk about. We never talked about. And so I had to actually bring it up with them, which I'm so glad that I did. So after you've completed this challenge, you should have completed the monthly bill organizer, your emergency plan document, the life planning organizer. So that's that red booklet that you got. You know, you've organized your usernames and passwords, whether that's the journal or password manager. The password journals did come in earlier this week. So if you sent me an email to the wellness at my wellness works email, I'll start interofficing those to all of you. You've reviewed and updated your beneficiaries. Be sure you've done your annual enrollment elections by Friday, and then make copies of your important documents and place them in those folders. So each of you got 10 folders, and then I just put some examples on ways you can organize those folders. Again, you don't have to use my logic. I was just trying to make it easier for you. And then, of course, the lock boxes. We, you know, if you haven't registered for one and you would like one, be sure you go in there and do that. I've asked Glenn Jones, if some of y'all may have received an email from him. And some of you may have received an email from him regarding picking up your lockbox. So if you haven't registered for one, be sure you go in there and do that. I'll include that link again in the follow-up. And then I put in here avoiding the default. So, you know, this is the hardest part of getting all this information together. But even if you've done all the planning, you want to avoid the default, meaning you've done all this work, but yet you haven't talked to those people. The people that you've named don't even know the plans that you have in place. So it's super important that you're doing that. And then also if you are a power of attorney for a friend or family member, and you don't even know what their wishes are, it's important for you to connect with them to say, hey, I just want to make sure, you know, what are your wishes? This is a lot of work. It's a lot to get done. I know we're approaching the holiday season. So when you get overwhelmed, just don't forget why you're doing this. And then just remember one day that the people are really going to benefit from all the hard work that you put into this. And then just knowing that you can rest easy knowing that the people that you love the most are going to be well taken care of whenever you pass. And then here's all our contact information. So of course you can always reach out to me. Stephanie Love is our retirement specialist. She's wonderful. You can always email general benefit questions, or if you're not sure who to go to with specific benefits questions, you can always email that inbox or call. And then we have the vendor contact information, which if you have a city phone, it's through my wallet. And then I put the link in there that I have saved. I bookmark it on my personal phone, because that's the one place where things are always updated. Any changes, that's going to be the most up-to-date information is through the my wallet. Any questions that y'all have? Okay, quiet group today. Well, if you need anything, you know how to reach me, or give me a call. And thank you all for your time. I'm sorry it's been a little disjointed the last couple weeks, but if you need anything, I'm around.
Nan, I have a question, but I did want to say thank you. I got my my safe and it looks fantastic. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. They are nice safes. They're heavy. So I'd probably say they're a good 25, 30 pounds. So if you need assistance getting it loaded or whatnot, we've had people come through the roundabout. So if you need any assistance with that, Glenn's coordinating that for me. And so we can help you get it loaded and all of that. So
Fantastic. Thank you so much. This was an awesome program.
you're welcome. And then Melissa, I just saw your message. Yes, I'll include the link in my follow-up email. So I've got a lot of meetings today, so I'm hoping I may possibly get this all out today, but if not, it will definitely be tomorrow morning for sure. All right. Well, y'all have got 3 extra minutes left. 3 extra minutes left in this meeting. So do whatever you got to do, but y'all have a good day and I'll talk to you later.